Scripps College Distinguished Alumna Award was established to recognize notable achievements of Scripps alumni and to focus attention on the Scripps role in the education of women. Recipients have made distinguished contributions in their chosen fields and have continued to grow throughout their careers. This year's recipient is described by her classmate and nominator as an active, enthusiastic participant in life. Her commitment to social justice and her focus on art evoke power in others with sensitivity and skill, and thus combine the capacity to nurture with the ability to lead. She is a loving wife, a devoted mother and grandmother, and an exceptional friend. As the daughter of renowned artist Millard Sheets, she has always been immersed in the world of art and continues to be involved with many art organizations. She's also a published author, popular speaker, and established minister. In fact, in 1978, she became the first female minister in the 115-year history of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Diego. She also happens to be celebrating her 60th reunion this year. Please join me in congratulating Carolyn Sheets Owen Towle, class of 1957, as our 2017 Distinguished Alumna.
I'm so inspired by both of you. Thank you for being here and for being you. Simply being here in my hometown is always a joy. Scripps was a mere burg of 3,000 people when I was born, and everyone knew everyone. To be honored here by Scripps for my life's work as an alumna of this college is a deep validation for which I'm very thankful. I literally grew up at Scripps. My father, Millard Owen Sheets, was head of the art department. As I sprouted, he would bring home stories of his admiration for specific students who seriously applied themselves at the college. With a half smile, Dad told me a number of times I could go to any college in the United States that I wanted to, as long as it was Scripps. By the time I was ready for college, it was the early 50s. Our generation, remember, was the silent one. Upper education for a girl was considered important if you were fortunate, but it wasn't yet that common. Professors whom I'd known by first names as dear friends of our family now became doctor. I wasn't a very good student in the first year or so. Nevertheless, I blossomed when I switched my major to art and art history. There, my lifelong love of beauty grew increasingly discerning and integral to my evolving philosophy. Architecture inspired me. Yet to even consider being a professional of any kind, much less an architect, in my world of thinking, wasn't even a remote possibility. I thrived in the art department while simultaneously knowing I could not compete with the level of art created by both of my parents. Humanities stretched me in exciting ways. I would say I graduated well-informed, yet still unformed. At that time, there was no assumption by educators, I mean, look how far back I'm talking about, that women would necessarily go into the workforce. We were, for the most part, privileged women who, roundly educated, would make good wives and mothers. This is not to discount my few friends who had other expectations of themselves and did go on to graduate school, developing wonderful careers. Truthfully, however, they were the exceptions. I well remember Dr. Castor saying to us in biology class, "You who are educated have an obligation to give back to society." That was a signal I embedded deeply, never forgot, nor failed to follow. No surprise, I was married 2 weeks following graduation. In my mid-30s, my family established, I began to grow intellectually, and a need for purpose, along with family, became compelling. Feminism, awareness of human needs, racism, and a religious awakening, along with volunteerism on a number of fronts, were all part of those years. A seeker and a lifelong skeptic, I found Unitarian Universalism to be where religiously I belonged. After a number of years, I was responsible for a sad and painful divorce. Ultimately, I was remarried to my now life partner of 43 years, Owen Towle. Increasingly involved in the life of the church, it one day dawned on me that I had the makings of a minister, so I realized I'd better become one. I had found my calling, the commitment to inspire and empower others to live their own truths. In my late 30s, I studied for the ministry. Immediately, I realized through humanities and philosophy that at Scripps, there wasn't a period of history or religion to which I'd not been introduced. I was exploring ever deeper into familiar ground, and an enduring gratitude for my Scripps education became deeply fixed and joyfully revisited. Tom, already a Unitarian Universalist minister, and I were called as co-ministers to First Unitarian Church of San Diego, a large congregation that she said to you. We served together for 24 years with deep affection, hard work, and the rare privilege of bearing witness to others' struggles and triumphs. Tom was my finest mentor. He was and continues to be my deepest ally and friend. Without him, for one thing, I would not have been called as I was to a large church, a first for a woman in our association. Together, we forged a beloved community of meaning and purpose. As a young adult, eager to further human efforts in every sphere, I had seen myself as one who sat at the side of the table on a committee or a board. However, I more often than not found myself nudged to the head of the table, surprising myself into leadership. Remember the 70s, 80s, and 90s? Those were the years of women's gradual ascension from marginal public impact in a very hierarchical world to positions of authority and meaningful leadership. When I was ordained, there were only a dozen or so settled women ministers in my denomination. Trailblazing then more than now was challenging and fraught. Women, however, were gradually coming into their own. By the late 90s, women made up over 1/2 of our ministry. Leadership followed consistently through my career. I became the first woman president of our denomination's International Service Committee, traveling to different parts of the world overseeing projects. Then the first woman president of our Continental Ministers Association, a position in which patriarchy had heretofore ruled. Ultimately, in 1991, I became a candidate to be the first female president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, an election which I very narrowly lost to a gentleman. This year, in 2017, finally, 3 women have been nominated to be candidates for president, so at long last, in June, we will elect our first Unitarian Universalist Association female president. Since completing my ministry in 2002, I've gone back to the art world from which I came. My father's deep and remarkable influence in my life inspired me to write a memoir of his life called Damn Gorgeous. I serve on the board of Mingei International Folk Art and Design Museum, where I was president for 2 years. And most of you know Sam Maloof, woodworker, was a dear and lifelong friend who created a foundation board on which I sit. And I served James Hubble, San Diego artist and architect, on his foundation board. Let me conclude with joy and a profound sense of gratitude that young women today can and do imagine themselves going for any career. I have closely watched Scripps gradually evolve into an educational institution that serves all cultures, races, personal orientations, and ambitions, with a curriculum that prepares women of ability and diverse gifts for futures of challenge and ultimately in all fields. See how far Scripps has come?